Hi guys, here we go. 9 days after the tragic moment that has divided our society and has divided our the country and that has divided more the politicians that you guys have seen in social media, that you guys have seen in news outlets, but I think both parties they have failed to these issues during years. So that's why we saw those riots. That's why we saw those lootings in different cities after they were seeing that the justice not being delivered to their family, to the community. So, but we condemned all this act of vandalism. I think all these people, I think it's understandable the frustration that why they were acting like that, but not all of these protesters. Like so many peaceful protesters, as you guys seen in the during the daytime. I think is so amazing that the community, that the citizen, they coming together to solve an issue, to demand justice, but in a peaceful way. But we condemn all these few criminals, but we have to call it how it is. They are criminals because they destroyed business and they burn banks and they burn postal office, which is our money, which is I know that may could be a building with the private sector, but that this means that it's public money. So that's why we're against those acts. But we have to make it clear. I think there is understandable what was going on for those last couple of days, but as we saw yesterday, finally those four police were arrested, and what those governors and AG and those politicians should do now, that have an update every day about the process that is going to take place in maybe Minnesota, maybe out of states, for because this has become really a tough issue for any judge, for any politician or any institution. So I think all the eyes going to focus on the sentencing, and I agree that all these bad cops should be held and accountable, and all these four police should be put in jail, but probably with different sentencing. May could be the one that who put his who pressed the guy on his neck, I think should be jailed for 60 or 70 years, and the other probably 10 or 20 years, because we have to be clear, there's a system to follow, there's a sentencing to follow, and there's an evidence, which is the most concerning after all this, after all those days, is that's the independent autopsy, which is clear that the guy was killed, was murdered at the scene. So that's the other issue that the people now have demanding, that should be sentencing, and if they accelerate it, I think it's going to be much better for our society, because we can't see any more destruction in our society, and there's an election coming up, and I hope they don't politicize it, that this issue, I know they being politicized, and as you know that Republican Party, they didn't demand the arrest of the four police, and same as the Democrats, they didn't demand the arrest of the four police. I mean, the mayor who decided to fire those four police, but 3 days after what was happening. So that's why we saw so many burning in different cities around the country. Why? Because no politician, no institution demanded the arrest of the four police. So that's why we're after 9 days. We have a lot of things to see, but I think the point that what why did it start. And I understand that as a human being, as a civilized society, I think no one should be harmed, or no one should be robbed, no one should be cheated, no one should be humiliated in the way that so many bad people do, or so many bad people do same. But as we have to make clear that 100 like 80% of the cops or police, they are a good police. And same thing in our society, maybe 90%, 80% of our civilized citizen or civilized world, there are people that they understand, that are not violent people. But this issue that has a long history in the United States. And as indigenous, I know, and as you guys maybe probably you have read a book about the history of the United States. Uh, uh, we've been I say lacked in our reservations, and we've been destroyed in our culture. As you guys can saw my color of skin in the language I'm speaking. I think this part of the racism. It is part of the colonized world that we have become during those decades, and those issues that took place 9 days ago, 10 days ago. That's why those people, they in somehow they were acting with a hate, what they were acting with frustrations. Like I said, it is understandable for all these riots and looting has took place in the country, but I think we must demand too, because so many small businesses that they been destroyed, they been burned down, and all these people, I think, and I know there's other issue too, like those insurance company, they should step in fast and quick. And there's the institution of the government, which is FEMA, which they have millions, and they should be step into, so we can create we can rebuild our neighborhood. And there's the positive thing to all this issue too, that so many people, they will have a job, especially the construction workers. But this is something that I see, this issue that both sides of the parties, and that they've been ruling the country, that they've been ruling the system, I think they have failed in different ways. Just that the Democrats, they didn't act, just like yesterday, they act to arrest the four uh, bad cops. And it's the other side, the Republican, they didn't condemn this in openly, or describing it as a murder, or describing it as a something that should be brought to the justice. And as the other ingredient, which is the main figure at this moment, is the president of the United States. And I agree with a couple of things about his policies about the economic. I think the country was heading to a good path in economic, but in so many social and so many other issues, I think the president has failed, has divided us more, and uh, and all this gassing against peaceful protesters, I think, has divided us as a society, and has divided us as in different news broadcast. As you guys have seen, so many radical wins that they've been focusing on those lootings issues, especially were taking place nights. And the other side of the uh, media, they has focusing on the those peaceful protesters. But we must demand all these peaceful protesters, but we must demand all these people who were acting as a criminal, destroying all these neighborhoods. I think they should brought to the justice, But at this moment, I think it is time to come united. It is time to demand justice, and I hope all these young kids that they've been out of the street, they can become more organized and not just uh, going in a place just because they have a post on Facebook and without any specific knowledge of what we have to do to make change in our society. So that's why for last couple of days so many young kids they've been going out on the street, especially at nights, doing what we have seen in the news, that the burning of uh, states buildings. So but I think there is no leaders, there is no uh, politicians that have been out there like telling us to come united or telling us that the justice is going to be delivered to those people that who the family, especially the George Floyd's family, that they really want the justice. But there should be justice for those business owners too, that all these bad things that were taking place for this couple of days. But as you guys know, that this place or this page is all about the idea how we can create a better society. And I know, I understand that as you guys, as a citizen of this country, I know there is a lot of to dig into it, just like the Italians' history, just like the Irish history, just like the English history, just like the Muslim history, just like the Hispanic history. So all of these things now, I think in somehow the young generation, the bilingual generation of this country has to fix all these issues ahead, but in organized society. And the most important thing that they should come out and participate in political process, and they should come out and register and vote. Because as I seen so many young people out there, but I think 90% of those kids, of those adults, they don't even vote in elections. So I think there is time to focus to solve our differences, but in a way that we can create a dialogue and a civilized society, because we can't beat each other. And I know we've been helping each other too. So that's why a call for all of you guys and to take a minute and think about what is our ancestor history and why we are at this moment that we can sit and talk with our family and with our friends, and we must demand the change, which is the elections. If those politicians they have failed us and they have created this sentiment of different group of ethnics that they've been living in United States. So it is time to come together. It is time to get out and organize our community and demand justice for this family. And our thoughts and hearts goes with these people that they been have affected about this, especially the we have to talk about police members too, because so many police that now in somehow our society they seeing them as bad people. But we have to make it clear that 90% of our men's and women's in uniform are a good people, and 90% of our society are a good peaceful society too. So that's why thanks guys, and I hope you can share this video and you can follow us on our social media, and peace, love, and harmony to your family, to you, and to your precious country, our country. Thank you, guys.